Hey everybody, my name's Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today we're going to talk about education. I'd like to thank Chris Mills for suggesting this topic. Thank you, Chris. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm going to compare education back when we were kids to education now. And this is just general knowledge and feelings. I haven't done deep research into education now. It's just, normal, average human beings' experience with the education system now at this age and what I understand of it. And this is Wednesday, October 9th, the morning of. And we got Hurricane Milton on the way. I've already done a couple videos on Hurricane Milton. I'm just sitting here waiting for it to land. So we'll just have to, it's a wait and see game now. But education. The most recent and close brush with education I've had in recent years was my brother's kids. Out of my family, my brother has the youngest kids. And he pulled them out of school because they were being forced to watch CNBC political stuff. Like, you know how CNBC and NBC and all that stuff, they're all left-leaning Democrat. And he found out his kids were being forced to watch that stuff in math class. Political commentary from one side in math class. Now, to add more detail to this, now my brother doesn't really raise his kids to be, one political side or the other. He just teaches them to have common sense and, look at both sides and make up their own minds. So if it had been the other side, he probably would have done the same thing. But just the fact that they were forcing them to watch political views from one side or the other during math class. And he went off, went to the principal's office or whatever, the office there, and yelling, and took his kids out of school right there. The minute he found out. He doesn't play with that shit. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff going on now. And this is in Florida, where, our educational system is a little different than most of the other states in the country, because of our governor kind of cleaves closer to constitutionalism, right? And just wants to teach the basic reading, writing, arithmetic. And my point is that this isn't like we're in California or something, some far outlying state where, they're just indoctrinating kids in the schools outright. And to clarify, I point out California as indoctrinating kids in their schools because they're indoctrinating kids in their schools. I don't give a shit what side they're on, what side of this fight that the politicians have us in, Democrat, Republican. That's all bullshit that they have us fighting. That's just shit they've got made up to have us bickering with each other. As far as I'm concerned, I don't believe that Democrat, Republican shit matters to them at all. But to us, it does. So if it just happens that the conservative right wing, they're not trying to indoctrinate kids. I don't know what the hell to tell you. But no, I don't think that any indoctrination in a school should happen. It should just be straight up teaching kids facts. 1 + 1 = 2. Spelling, reading, writing. That's how it was pretty much when I was a kid. Now, you can't help but have teachers, sometimes their opinions will come out in their teaching, especially when we used to learn about social studies or history or something like that. But in math class and reading class and English, there wasn't really much of that. I don't remember much of that at all, if ever, really. Back then, we'd come in to class, you'd sit down, get out your books, you get your assignment, you try to pay attention, and you try to learn the best you could, and your teacher would teach you whatever was in the book. Nowadays, the teachers just bring their own beliefs about society and gender and politics into the classroom and just teach that, it seems like to me, in a lot of places. And I'm sure that's what's scary about it. My brother's experience was in Florida. So in these other states where it's just all haywire, I can't imagine. I just really don't know how someone could send their kids to a public school. And I know people are forced to because of economic reasons and whatnot. Your kids have to go somewhere when you're at work. And I feel bad for those people, especially the ones who are aware of it and are forced to do it anyway. Because there are, of course, a bunch of people who just aren't aware. They don't know what's going on in their kids' school, don't give a shit. I feel bad for those kids. And then the discipline in schools is completely gone. It's just, there is none. Kids nowadays, kids have fantasies and they live in these worlds where, they like to pretend. We like to pretend when we were kids. I used to love to pretend to be a World War II soldier or a Chief Joseph fighting off the cowboys or whatever. You can't bring that crap, your pretend stuff, into school and get to disrupt everybody else. And that's why our education, we used to be number one in education across the world. But when I was a kid in the 70s, we were number one. United States of America, we were number one. We had the best education system on the planet, bar none. Now we've sunk down to like number 40. 40! And that's to do with that. These kids now, they're allowed to come into the classroom dressed however and with their phones and pretending to be dogs and cats and stuff. And they're learning about gender and all this stuff. And they're not learning about real facts. They're not learning about life. They're not learning about math or science or these things, And then they go to college and all this hardcore math and science doesn't interest them. So they're chasing these weird liberal degrees that have no application in the real world. So then they're surprised when they can't get a job. It's really strange. But I understand how the kids are falling for this crap. I just don't understand why the adults are doing it to them. Because if I was a teacher, there's no way, I just couldn't do it. I'd have to teach the kids. They'd have to put their phone down. They couldn't pretend to be a cat in my classroom. I'd get fired. I'd get fired just for not buying into the kids' little fantasy worlds, their little pretend worlds. Not for abuse or anything, but now that is abuse. Not pretending with someone else's fantasy is abuse now. The world has gone crazy, and it's like the education system is the epicenter of the insanity. It all flows out of there because that's where all these people are coming out of this education system with all these weird infectious ideas and fantasies, and they want to play pretend there's a lot of Gen Xers out there who don't want to play adult, completely, and I'm one of them. I like my comic books, I like my superheroes, I like, Conan the Barbarian and all. I'm still a kid at heart. I'm immature in a lot of ways. But I grew out of the whole pretending that I'm Conan the Barbarian. You know what I mean? I like watching Conan the Barbarian still, but I don't go out and pretend that I'm Conan the Barbarian in my yard and then insist that my neighbor buy into that. And then, run around telling the rest of the neighbors what an asshole he is because he won't call me Mr. Barbarian. So, oh, but now I look back on our time in school and I respect those teachers. I have respect for them because they put their foot down and didn't allow me to play pretend in their classroom. Like the teacher in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You know, if I'm here and you're here, isn't it our time? No, it was his time. And when you're in that teacher's classroom, it's his or her time. And I respected those teachers. Now, these young kids today, they don't have any respect for these teachers because these teachers just fawn over them and enable that behavior, right? They're so, and part of it is because the teacher's afraid to get in trouble. If they do try to put their foot down and make the kids act right, they'll get in trouble. They could go to jail just for misgendering a kid. I wouldn't want to be a teacher now. Holy crap. But yeah, back then we had respect for our teachers and we knew that they were trying to teach us something. They knew that they were trying to give us a good life, give us a better shot at life, whether we liked it or not, whether we liked them or not. We knew that they were trying to, even the asshole teachers that we didn't like. We had to, at least in the back of our minds, respect them and their effort and try not to get in trouble, at least. Some of us did. Yeah, I think it boils down to that. Respect for the teacher. They've taken all of the tools away from the teachers who want to try and who want to teach these kids the difference between right and wrong, teach these kids that 2 + 2 = 4, teach these kids how to read and write. Those teachers have either been fired or, beaten into submission. And then the younger teachers coming up, they're all in it. They're all with it. They came up in that system, so they're part of it. And it's just getting worse. The younger teachers coming up, they're just worse than the older ones, and that's a snowball. So lack of respect for the teachers, I think, is the core of it. And their ability to get the respect from the kids has been stripped away by the system. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a member, and I'll put that link down in the description, or you can do that over on the channel page. You get extra content. Pretty cool thing there. You can also do it by clicking on that super thanks button down there. I appreciate those of you who have done that. Thank you very much. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you're interested in Gen X gear, you can hop over to Redbubble and check our stuff out over there. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. Got some pretty cool stuff over there. So I'll leave that link in the description for you too. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot. Thank you very much for those of you who do that. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, thanks again, Chris. Please put those down in the comments, or you can email us in the emails over on the channel page. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.